Hi guys, it's ALCHEMY. How's everyone doing? Good, I hope. I'm here today to talk to you about the new-ish parfum version of Tom Ford's Black Orchid. When something like this happens, it raises a question, at least it does in my head. Do I really need both? Is it worth it? Is there enough of a difference between them to warrant buying both of them? Or owning both of them? And as a long-time fan of Black Orchid, I was excited that this was a thing. This was happening. I thought, way cool, this is going to be great. So I'm here today to talk to you about the differences between them, if any, and hopefully it will help you make a decision to know if you want to buy it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the way Black Orchid smells. I already reviewed it a bazillion years ago. I will link it up here if you want to go and check it out, and I will also put it in the little end of video card dealio things that happen at the end. Those. For now, let's talk about it. So I have been a long-time fan of Black Orchid for the longest time, really long time. Took me a while to get there. It's not for everyone. It's a very dark, brooding fragrance, chocolatey, truffly, mushroomy, that's a similar thing anyway. Vetiver, florals, roughness, dark, brooding, vampiriness. I think it's amazing. So I was really excited about the new one, and when you read the notes, there's only really a tiny amount of tweaks that they've done, and the main thing is that they say there's a plum note added and there is a rum note added. Plum and rum. Oh, I love a bit of rhyming. Makes my day. So I have tried the new one on my skin 3 or 4 times now, sat there, got my detective head on and tried to figure out what the differences are, and I can tell you that, let me just spray it on my hand again, the new one. There, you know, I've got it. Proof. Got it. I can tell you that the main difference between the Eau de Parfum version and the Parfume version is the texture. You are not going to get a wildly different version of Black Orchid. That rarely happens anyway, unless there's a flanker. There have been other flankers of Black Orchid, like the Eau de Toilette version. I think there was even an oud one at some point because, you know, oud. But what I find with this one is, yes, it's really good. The main thing here, like I said, is the texture. It feels very much like Black Orchid, but it is altogether smoother in texture. The original one has a rough, spiky texture, and this one is something a little bit more rounded out. Does it smell boozy? No. Do I think that would have been really good? Yes. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Also, I want to talk about plum, since it's one of the only things that is said to be different about this one. Plum in fragrance is never going to be real, and every time I've smelled a fragrance that says it has plum in it, it's a similar thing to when you have grape in a fragrance. Grape in grape flavored things doesn't taste anything like actual grapes. Plum in fragrance doesn't smell anything like actual plums. What plum does, in my experience in perfumes, think of Poison by Christian Dior. It gives a dark, fruity depth without going, hi, I'm plum and you're going to recognize me. That's my experience. I don't personally smell something that's dark and fruity and go, oh, that's definitely plum. It's more of a feeling, and it's just a note that's put in, and it's not going to be real either, but it does add something to this. It does add a bit of what the other one doesn't have, which is a syrupy, fruity type feeling to the fragrance, and also a smoothness. It's definitely not boozy though, and I kind of wish it was. It also feels a little bit more floral. They do emphasize that the ylang ylang dripping in rum thing. Also, being a huge ylang ylang lover, or ilang ylang lover, I really wish that that was a thing, but it isn't. So that is the main difference for starters, and it's only in the opening, which leads me on to my next part. Smoother, rounder, dare I say slightly more wearable, because what makes the Eau de Parfum version of Black Orchid a little bit scary, I think, is the earthiness. It's the roughness. I've always said it's like a wall of fragrance that just hits your senses, and there is a element of dustiness. There's a vetiver in it, there's a chocolate, there's a mushroom. It's all of those kind of things. This version is ever so slightly more friendly. It would be a better place to start if you've never worn Black Orchid before. And if you don't like this one, you're definitely not going to like the Eau de Parfum. Having said all of that, the difference is not drastic enough to say, oh, that's a different fragrance or that's a different version. It's just a tiny little bit of tweaking and smoothing out the edges, and that's what you've got with the Parfum version. In terms of longevity, this one is a little bit tricky. For me, I would say they last about the same time. They project about the same as well, but I cannot really get into details about different variations, or should I say reformulations of Black Orchid. I've had my bottle for quite a long time. I don't know if there's a newer version. So what I would say is, if you have bought the most recent formulation of Black Orchid and you're having problems with longevity, this one lasts as long, which is very long, I'm talking 12 hours, as long as my bottle of Black Orchid Eau de Parfum, which is an older one. Did that make any sense? Anyone? What I will say also is, when it comes to dry down, it's like both of them become one. The main difference is the opening, the drying stages. It feels to me very much like it's the same thing. I've done 3 or 4 dry down tests on either hand of mine, and that's where they become the same thing, basically. I would say the Eau de Parfum is just a slightly bit richer. It has a little bit more body to it, but you're gonna end up in the same place as the Eau de Parfum. So if it stayed like the opening smells for a much longer time, I would be telling you, if you're a fan, it might warrant getting it. You might like it, but ultimately for me, just the opening, you end up in down the same road, and you end up at the same destination. That's it. That's my review. I hope this helps you a little bit. I was really excited to try this, and I was hoping that there was going to be a bit more of a noticeable difference. At the end of the day, it's still Black Orchid, slightly tweaked, still really nice, still might get it. But if what you wanted was a wildly different, drastic, newer version of Black Orchid, this isn't it. It's still great though if you're a fan of Black Orchid, and I'm going to leave it there. Anyway guys, I hope you like this video. I'm ALCHEMY, trying to make the world smell better, one video at a time. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.